Thank you to Chef for their generous donation as a YouTube member. Peel a bit of wallpaper off the mantle with my thumb. Without all the furniture, the place looks much older than it actually is. I managed to get in by unblocking the front door with one of my credit cards. One of my many credit cards. The deadbolt never worked, so I guess my parents didn't fix it after I left town. Everything kind of smells faintly familiar. Oh, so I guess we're in our old house. Just dustier, and without my mom's burning cinnamon incense that seemed to be a constant feature of my childhood. I rest my forearms against the windowsill and let my eyes lull a bit. Holy God! I don't trust Leo, so I don't like it when he's suddenly there. Otter! Whoa, Leo smacks his paws on either side of the window, looking up at me from the outside with a pleased expression on his muzzle. That fuck. Jesus, man! I blink some. Why are you shirtless? Leo pulls back some, crossing his arms over his chest. He rolls his shoulders, a sort of indirect shrug. It's getting hot, especially with all them moving around and grilling. I give him a dubious look. Yeah, you're a hot dog, all right. The red wolf responds with a delighted smile, a harumph trying to change gears a bit. I harumph. You're not, like, self-conscious or anything? I mean, it isn't like the height of football season for you anymore. I flick my gaze toward his stomach. Leo's demeanor cools, though he keeps smiling as if he's trying not to let that one set in too much. He points up toward my chin. Do you dye that? What? My goatee? My goatee? Is that what you call it? Yeah. He lets out a little humored grunt. What? Seems like a lot of work for a little scruff of hair, yeah? I frown, pushing my back away from the window. Leo seems to stiffen some. Hey, I'm just kidding. You look very good. Seeing you dancing and all that takes me back. But you are different. He pushes his tongue against the roof of his mouth, Leo's eyes darting from side to side as he tries to find the right words. I haven't seen him like this since we were younger. I wonder if his English has been getting worse without us around. His family really only speaks Spanish at home, and I imagine that it's the same at the shop he works at. Thanks. I'm honestly not sure how to respond to that. What am I doing that's so different? I can't explain it. You're just like how you used to be, just less. I feel a sinking sensation within my chest. Leo suddenly snaps his fingers. Mellowed out! That's it! Listen, Leo, you said you wanted to talk, right? Because if your big point is that I'm not a complete spaz anymore, I'm already aware. Leo furrows his white-ridged brow. You never were a spaz, and I was getting to that. What the fuck was Daxton's voice? Chase? I don't know. I spin around to see a familiar salamander standing anxiously behind me. Oh, hi. Hola, scooter guy. Leo leans past me and waves. Hey, got time to talk, Chase? I mean, I think sure. He wanted to talk to us, so we kinda need to talk to him. Alright, sure. Great, thank you. Chase? When I turn back, Leo has a stern look on his face, though he's quickly replaced it with a polite smile. Chase, I've been meaning to talk to you about some things. Leo lets out a large breath of air, checking his phone. Fucking Pops, man. He doesn't care whether or not it's my day off. Family helps family. Leo mumbles a few inaudible swears in Spanish before looking up at the two of us. Seems to think for a moment. I'll see you guys later. Chase, we're gonna talk. Right. I give him an awkward thumbs up. He nods, turning and making his way offward. Daxton pushes the tips of his fingers together, trepidation upon his face despite his initial request. I'd offer you a seat if this house still had furniture. Lets out a small puff of air, looking around and seeming to acknowledge his environment for the first time. Carl told me you grew up here. Yeah. The place isn't as old as it looks, by the way. I just think my uncle just really dug the whole prairie aesthetic. I'm admittedly a wee bit done with that theme at this point. Growing up in Colville, no surprise there. It's like, I try to find the right word, a facade of a town. Daxton nods slightly, not about to protest to that. He turns, walking past the doorway and into the foyer. Indoor windows, huh, though? Whose idea was that? What? I follow him. Just sort of off-center. They're really juxtaposition here. I don't know. It's a work of art. Daxton points to the teak-bordered windows. Surprisingly, none of the glass has been shattered yet. Oh, well, obviously not mine. My parents enclosed part of the porch when I was like 10. They left the windows, though. Daxton nods as he paces about the room, the floorboards creaking beneath his unpadded feet. And careful where you walk. I wouldn't doubt junkies shoot up in here. That stops the salamander, the blue-eyed fellow, shifting his gaze back to me. Right, good idea, that. He sniffs. So, I lean against the back wall after a cursory glance, making sure it's spider-free. Daxton says nothing. In fact, he just keeps looking at me. A sense of unease begins to tingle down my spine as I remembered reminded of last night, the way Daxton looked at me in the car as we drove home. He didn't say much the whole ride, thankfully. I had a dream last night. Can I tell you about it? I feel a mixture of relief and awkwardness. Sure. Daxton's mouth pulls to one side, as the force contorting into a sort of sheepish half-smile. Well, it wasn't truly like a dream or nothing of the sort I'm familiar with. Dreams are the sorting and the categorizing of happenings of the days by the subconscious of the mind. You know how they are, where the sky never looks quite day or night, always some sort of violet or reddish, dusky setting. You always have some limited control over what environs surround you. Again, mainly on the subconscious level. In the dream, if you're worried, then you'll have a right to be worried, like a self-fulfilling prophecy or what have you. Fearing that the bad thing might happen to a loved one. The bad thing will happen to a loved one. Afraid that something scary might be in the room. There's something scary in the room. I look around briefly. He gesticulates in a swinging motion to get my attention, shifting to digress. It's why the stressed, the traumatized, and the guilty get night terrors more than anyone else. Daxton lets his hands fall to his hips, his eyes trailing downward to the dusky boards beneath my feet. Lately, I've been getting a lot of bad dreams, but ones that don't seem to, I suppose, align with me. I'm doing things I've never done in places I've never been, and that sense of subconscious agency is entirely absent. Like, I'm out in the pines and holding this rifle. Daxton. He looks up. No offense, but where is this going? Daxton's posture seems to go a little more rigid, the salamander's nostrils flaring as he exhales. I'm beginning to think that Daxton is a lot weirder than I initially thought. Okay, I'm getting to it. Last night, after you dropped me off, I fell asleep in the recliner in the living room. Shortly after, it felt like I woke up, but I wasn't in the house anymore. I was in some school computer lab I didn't recognize. You were there, except it wasn't you. He clears his throat. It was a different you. Younger, louder. Carl and Flynn were kind of standing behind you too, but they weren't saying anything. Sometimes I'd blink my eyes and they were there, and sometimes they weren't. I think words were coming out of your mouth, but I couldn't make anything out. It was like a waterfall was rushing behind me. I started to hate you. I couldn't believe I had hung out with you voluntarily, like the sight of you made my stomach hurt. I blink, frowning some before opening my mouth to speak. However, Daxton cuts me off, continuing on. There was something on the computer screen next to you that you kept showing over and over again. It was this other otter sitting in this bedroom with big sports poster on the wall. Other otter. And he was crying, staring at something in the corner of the room. Again, you were just playing this same scene over and over again. Eventually, you just deleted it outright, and that made me mighty perturbed for whatever reason. I wanted to hit you, so I did. Daxton sees the deepening frown on my face, and he smiles very slightly, though he quickly goes back to his more serious expression. It was like I teleported across the room. The next thing I knew, I had grabbed and hit you, but your body had the consistency of loamy sand. You were crumpling and dissolving every time I touched you. Your fur turned gray and speckled, and your face didn't look like you anymore. Everyone else started grabbing me, and I recognized Carl's arms, but there was a bunch of others. Even you somehow had a hold on me. No Flynn, though. Hell, I couldn't even see him anywhere. I remember calling for him, hoping he was back from the bar. Next thing I know, I'm on a beach. I'm just standing there, watching the tide lick at the sand beneath my feet. Then there's this... Daxton pauses, crossing his arms over his chest. He moves across the room to lean against the wall beside me, staring ahead. Well, it's just this. I don't know what it was. I'm thinking it was a face, but it could have been a weird-ass rock. Kind of reminded me of an electrical outlet. And everything just went dark, and I was staring at the rock face, which started staring at me in turn. I was just stuck there in real time, staring at it for, I guess, around 20 minutes. Then it faded away. Jesus. After that, I was at this sort of fort-looking place. Lots of old-timey-looking folk around with this trumpet guy emblem everywhere. I kept asking the people around me where I was, but they would always just shuffle away. I followed this one fox lady with a big old blouse on around a corner, and suddenly I was an Echo again. The sky was wrong, but it was still Echo. I walked into my house and saw myself in the kitchen. Flynn, Carl, and you were there too. Ad Astra was on the TV. And there was this uneasiness in the air, because I was pissed about the whole computer lab thing. I wanted to yell at you about it, Carl for grabbing me, Flynn for abandoning me, and the other me for not being the real me. Salamander rubs his smooth forehead some and then seems to realize something. You didn't have a goatee either, which I thought was funny at the time. I remember saying, I guess someone shaved off your goatee after all. I reach up, pinching the excess scruff hanging below my chin. Still there. You just seemed confused about that. I'm confused about that now. Well, hold on. Flynn, Carl, and the other me just vanished at that point. I asked you where they went, and you told me they went outside to, and I quote, jerk each other off. Wow. You've only known Carl a day. It's a bit forward. Be quiet. You were completely different than the you from the computer lab. Older, for sure. We sat down, drank beer, and reminisced about things I don't remember. I stopped feeling so uneasy and scared. It's like you melted away all the weird bad shit that had happened prior. It became nighttime, and then you said you were sorry. I asked you why you were sorry, and then you hugged me. It was... Salamander pressed his thumbs together, avoiding looking at me now. The realest thing I had ever felt in a dream. I could feel your heartbeat, the bristle of your fur, the fabric of your shirt, everything. He touches his own chest and slowly curls his hand into a fist before letting it fall back to his side. You told me that to forgive someone is to release a prisoner, and discover that the prisoner was you. You let go of me and began fiddling with something. I heard Flynn laughing and turned around to see him walking through the door. Out of the corner of my eye, you began taking a bracelet off your wrist. You held up in front of my face and... Bracelet? Daxton shifts. Yeah. Did it have a little metal anchor attached to it? I don't know. I couldn't really see because, well, Flynn was there. But it wasn't a dream anymore. What? He had just gotten home from the bar, didn't say 2 words to me, and beelined to his room. There was no bracelet, of course, because I was wide freaking awake. I'm guessing that the laugh wasn't real either. It never felt like I was asleep in the first place, actually. But I'm left with the feeling of it all. Like, haven't you ever had a dream about somebody that felt completely different about, and then felt completely different about them afterwards? And I don't mean just like weird puberty sex dreams about your cousins or something like that. I furrow my brow some. Yeah, I guess, to the former. Are you saying that you feel that way about me now? I guess, hence is why I'm talking to you. I go quiet for a second, and I'm still not sure how to feel. Huh. I don't really know what to make of it, Daxton. I'm not really the eclectic, spiritual sort. Me neither. That's the thing. I mean, I own a Dreamcatcher and a couple of New Age albums, but who doesn't? I raise my paw. Daxton looks at me, slightly rolling his eyes. Didn't you say yesterday you had something similar happen to you, though, when you passed out at our place? I pause, then nod. Must have been the fishy cheese bread we ate. You thought that had a fishy taste too, right? I told Flynn not to put his catches in the damn freezer on top of the other food. Daxton sighs. I don't know, Chase. Talking to you about it seemed like a better idea in my mind. I shake my head, waving my paw to the side. No, it's fine, really. I'm glad that I'm not the only one dealing with this sort of stuff for once. Daxton perks slightly, looking me over. For once? Damn, I shouldn't have said anything. Now I hate trying to explain this. I drift my gaze to the cracked ceiling, staring at the hole where a brass chandelier once hung. I try to put on a nonchalant tone. I have mental problems or something. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Daxton cock his head toward me. Smooth. Like sleep paralysis, lucid nightmares, that sort of thing. Sometimes I don't have any problems with them, but as of late, I don't know. I try not to think about it too much, otherwise I get all insomniatic. Man, that sucks. They all know about it. I gesture toward the backyard. I can still faintly hear TJ chatting excitedly about something, with Jenna chiming in every now and then. At first, everyone thought I was all making it up to be special. When'd you start getting them? I don't know, around puberty, so tween years. I used to get really bad nightmares around then. I watched some clown TV movie and it traumatized my effed ass. I don't know what that means. Effed? Oh, it's going to explain it. Daxton looked over toward me, seeming to realize the need for clarification. Tadpole. Oh, cute. Daxton sputters out a dismissive noise. I was not cute. Well, neither was I. I was kind of a shithead. Daxton peers at me for a moment before his gaze trails up towards the brown fur on my scalp. It takes me a second to register. I mean, regarding how I treated other people. Gotcha. I reach up, trying to make my head fur lay flatter. Daxton, meanwhile, reaches into his pocket and checks his phone. Neither of us say anything for a while. I'm gonna head out, but thank you for listening and such. Oh, yeah, no problem, man. You gonna go home and do some writing? I think I might. Either that or put on some new age music. I'm sure Flynn loves that. What sort of music does Flynn like? I don't think he does. What? I don't think he listens to music, like, in general. Who doesn't like music? I shrug. Someone like Flynn, I guess. Yeah, makes sense to me. He shoves his phone back into his pocket, stepping forward. Hey, since chances are I probably won't see you again, I just wanted to say it was good meeting you. I found myself smiling in spite of the previous tone of the conversation. Likewise. Thanks for introducing me to Carl. Never had a rich friend before. You lived in Colville. How have you never had a rich friend? Hey, I didn't live in the ritzy tourist packed part of it, plus I was homeschooled. That explains a lot. Shithead. He grinned some, and I could see the pink of the inside of his mouth. It's quite the contrast from the rest of him. I feel a bit better now. See ya, Chase. Ooh, do we shake his hand or hug him? I don't think a hug is appropriate during this moment. I'll do the hug, but I'll Alright, self-fulfilling prophecy, here it comes. Here what comes? Oof. I moved to embrace him with a bit more velocity than I initially intended, nearly sending the tall amphibian back against the wall. It lets out a bemused noise, patting my back. I returned the gesture before pulling away. Almost as graceful a dancer as you are a hugger. Ha. Now, time to find Carl. Okay, there seems to be no problem with that, so I guess we'll go with that. With that, he turns and heads out towards the backyard. Looking around, I don't see any sign of Leo. In fact, his van's no longer out front. I reach into my pocket, feeling my phone as a guilty sensation takes hold. I just know I'm probably going to get a whole nother wave of passive-aggressive text messages that I don't want to deal with. At this point, I probably deserve them. Can't keep dodging him like this. I noticed something odd sitting on top of the water heater. Curious, I pick it up. Oh, it's a picture of us. Oh. I never knew Mom framed this. I mean, it was just a shitty selfie I took my first day at Pueblo. She kept insisting that I send her a picture of myself on my big day. For some reason, I thought not smiling or looking at the camera was the cool thing to do. I wonder if they forgot this during the move. Though it kinda sucks. I wouldn't be surprised if they left it here on purpose. I haven't talked to them much lately. I should go. To be continued. Oh, man. So, it's weird because I saw in the update... there was a picture of Leo and of Chase, like a picture of them together. So I wonder if we had talked to Leo, if that picture would have shown up. Either way, that's weird. Anyway, so that's the end of the updates for this Voysion. So thank you all very much for joining me. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I have been the trained unprofessional, speaking for the voices in my head when I say until then, fare thee well. Bye, everyone!